Alright, Shalom Makam, and give all praises to Abba Yahweh Hashem Mashak Yahushua. Pretty much today, man, we're gonna be going into showing that if you believe in the lunar Sabbath, you really don't believe in the death and resurrection, the burial of Mashak Yahushua. And we're gonna show how. Because when does the Passover comes in, Leviticus 23 verse 5, the 14th day, right at evening. So I have a calendar right here, which this would be 14. So the sundown on this 14th day is the Lord's Passover. And we know, when we read the gospel, Yahushua ate the Passover. And, next day he was, taken at nighttime. Judas came and betrayed him. And, he was taken before, those wicked Edomite governors or whatnot. So we're going to go to Matthew 28:1. It says, because we know that the Passover is on the 15th day of the month of the moon. Okay? Right? The Passover is the 15th day. So it says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. So if Yahushua died on the Passover, how is he 3 days later? How 3 days later it was the end of the Sabbath and dawning towards the first day of the week? You know what I'm saying? Because the 15th is a Sabbath according to the lunar Sabbath keepers. A 15th is a Sabbath. So 3 days later, right, which really the 15th would have been the 14th sundown, right? 3 days later, which would be 1, 2, 3, 17th, right? Because really the 14th sundown is really the 15th. So 3 days later is 1, 2, 3, right? 17, 3 plus, because the 14th sundown is really the 15th that evening, but on Esau's calendar it says 14. But on our calendar, once that sun go down on this 14th day is really the 15th day. So the 15th day, the Passover is supposed to be sacrificed that evening. How 3 days later, 3 days later you have the Sabbath ending and the first day of the week coming, when Yahushua is supposed to be died on the Passover, and he's supposed to be our Passover, like brothers say, right? So 3 days later you got 1, 2, 3, right? 14. Sundown is the 15th. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, anybody knows 3 plus 14 is 17. All right, we can get that clear. So we're going to go back to Matthew 28 and 1. And the end of the Sabbath, right? Because the Sabbath was ending as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week. Now, meaning when it was dawn, that meaning it's still dark outside, okay? The sun ain't came up all the way yet. And to prove that, I'm going to go to John 20:1. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early when it was yet dark. So Mary Magdalene came at the end of the Sabbath when it was still dark. She got there, okay, unto the sepulcher, and seeing the stone was taken away from the sepulcher. So it says she got there early when it was yet dark. For it to be yet dark, that means that the Sabbath was ended because a new day came in. Okay, and it says she got there early, on the first day of the week. So that first day of the week came in when it was dark at nighttime. Okay, going into the morning. That's why I said she was still there in the morning. She was already there. Okay, in the end of the Sabbath. All right, so the end of the Sabbath, this can't be talking about the Passover Sabbath, because that's just one day. So it said he got to be in the grave 3 days. So this can't be talking about him being in the grave and rising at the end of the Passover Sabbath, because the Passover Sabbath is on the 14th at evening, which would be the 15th. So, and the 15th is would be the second week of lunar Sabbath keepers Sabbath. It'll be their third Sabbath of their second week. You got 3 Sabbaths in 2 weeks because you count the new moon as a Sabbath. All right, so It says, in the end of the Sabbath, it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. Right? So how is the first day of the week coming 3 days later from the 15th? How is the first day of the week coming according to the first day of the, how is the, it's like it, how is the end of the Sabbath 3 days later according to the lunar Sabbath doctrine? And how is the first day of the week coming 3 days later from him dying on the 15th, which he's supposed to be killed on the 15th, like the law says? Okay, so that proves that the lunar Sabbath is false, because he died on the Passover. The Passover is to be kept the 14th day at evening, which is the 15th day. 3 days later, you know what I'm saying, it's the 18th. Whether you say it's the 17th, 18th, or 19th, it still cuts. Your doctrine is cut, because lunar Sabbath keepers say their Sabbath is on the 15th and the 22nd. Now, he already was put in a grave on the 15th, which would only make 1 day. Okay? So, it said it was the first day of the week and the end of the Sabbath. 3 days later from 15 is 18, man. Okay? Y'all Sabbath don't come in on the 18th, nor does it come in on the 17th. So how could it have been the end of the Sabbath 3 days later from the 15th? And it said it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. And it's only one way to prove this, man. What everybody hate, man. Okay? Friday, Saturday, Shabbat, man. In the end of the Sabbath, how is the Sabbath ending 3 days later? You had the Sabbath from the 15th, which was a high Sabbath. Because the weekly Sabbath and the feastly Sabbath are two different cycles. Let's get another precept. This is Matthew 26 verse Matthew 27 and 62. It says, now the next day that followed, the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, remember the deceiver. Okay, the next day after preparation, right, meaning the weekly Sabbath preparation, right? Sir, we remember that the deceiver had said while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. 3 days from the 15th, man, from sundown at evening, which is the 14th, which when it goes turn to evening, it makes it the 15th. That makes it him rising either on the 17th, 18th, or 19th. Okay, but from the 15, 3 plus 15 is 18. So if he would have rose, even if he would have rose the 19th, you know what I'm saying, sundown 19th, whatever, it still cuts your doctrine, because you say the Sabbath is on the first day, the new moon, on the 8th day, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. So the first day of the week came in 3 days later from the 15th. And don't know, none of your first day of the week land on the 18th, 17th, or 19th. All right? So that just proves that the lunar Sabbath is off, man. How is the Sabbath ending 3 days later? And how is the first day of the week coming in 3 days later from 15? 15 plus 3 is 18. Okay? Y'all first day of the week would be the 1st, the 8th. No, it's like it wouldn't be the it would be the first day of the week is the new moon. The 8th is y'all so-called 7th day, which really is like the first day. So even if you say the 9th day would be the first day of the week, according to the lunar Sabbath keepers, your first day would be the 16th. All right. So 3 days later, it say the Sabbath would have ended. So even if you say, let me see how to put this. You say that the 15th, or the 15th is, when you're supposed to keep the feast, which would be the 14th that evening. Okay, so 3 days later from the 15th, you have what? 18, man. Nowhere in the scriptures do you see the lunar Sabbath, the first day of the month, coming in, 3 days later from the 15th. It's just crazy, man. This doctrine is crazy, man. Now I'm gonna read this. This Matthew 26. Because it could be confusing, man. Because that's what it is, man. It's a lot of confusion. Okay, that lunar Sabbath doctrine, that Babylonian Sabbath doctrine. Matthew 27:62. Now the next day that followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together. Right. The next day that followed the day of preparation, which is the sixth day, which is before the Sabbath, saying, "Sir, we remember that the deceiver said while he yet was alive." So it's telling you Yahushua was dead already. So after 3 days he will rise again. Okay, now we're gonna get that Mark 15:42. And now when the evening was come, because it was the preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. Luke 23:54. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. Right? Let me go to Mark. So the day of preparation is before the Sabbath. Now when the evening was come, right, the sun was about to go down, because it was the day of preparation, that is the day before the Sabbath. Joseph of Arimathea, the honorable counselor, awaited the kingdom of God, and came and went in boldly and craved the body of Yahushua. So we see that this guy was trying to get the body of Yahushua on the preparation day, which would be the sixth day of the week. And Pilate marveled if he had already died, and calling unto him the centurion, asked whether he had been dead. And he knew not, the centurion, he gave the body to Joseph. So he got this body on the sixth day, the preparation day that's before the Sabbath. And he brought fine linen, and took down and wrapped him in linen in the sepulchre, and rolled a stone unto the sepulchre. And Mary Magdalene and Mary mother beheld where he was laid. So they was looking at him get put in the sepulchre. Let's see. John 19:31. The Jews, therefore, because it was a preparation, that the body should not remain upon the cross upon the Sabbath day, right? It was the preparation day before the Sabbath, and he was killed, right? It says that the body should not remain upon the day, or remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was an high day. So Yahushua, he died on the weekly Sabbath preparation day, and it was a weekly Sabbath preparation day, and it also was the Passover. Okay, that's why I said that Sabbath was a high day. But he also said it was a preparation, because it was the preparation. Okay, so 3 days from the 15th